With all things pointing to Nintendo still having at least one more big Nintendo Direct for 2023, I wanted to go over the serious possibility of a huge Monolith soft game coming back to the Nintendo Switch, and that is, yes, Xenosaga HD Trilogy. So for those who don't know, Monolith Soft developed a trilogy of incredible turn-based RPGs for the PlayStation 2. They called it Xenosaga, and it's absolutely incredible. And if you've played Future Redeemed, well, I'm pretty sure you know all where we're going to get into. But there is more to this story, and I want to break down why this is probably going to be happening pretty soon, but what got us here in the first place, and why you should be excited about this if you've never played these Xenosaga games but know about Xenoblade. Now, before we get into it though, guys, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my Nintendo Switch and RPG videos first. Now let's go ahead and jump right back into it. We're going to start off back on December 26th, 2019. Bandai Namco executive and Tekken director, legend Kazuhiro Harada, responded to a fan question on Twitter about a Xenosaga Trilogy HD, saying, quote, "This actually progressed to the remaster's plan, but failed in a profitable market analysis. Sorry guys, this plan will be difficult to resurface." Now, in response to another fan on the same thread on Twitter, or X as it's known now, saying it was sad this wasn't happening, but they hope to see it in the future, Mr. Harada said this, quote, "Yeah, it's so sad. I was talking to a Monolith team after a long time." So I think he meant to say I was talking with the Monolith Soft team for a long time about this. Now, obviously English isn't his first language, but yeah, that's pretty much what he was trying to say there. Then he also linked an article to a 4Gamer page, but that was no longer up. But I remember reading it, and it was essentially talking about a couple different things when it comes to Xenosaga and what could happen. But let's talk about this. This looks grim, right? Obviously that looks grim. That was back in 2019. We've seen nothing of a Xenosaga HD or a Trilogy HD or anything like that. So things aren't looking too good. But you have to realize at the time they were analyzing this, so for this market analysis and if it was going to be profitable or not, the Switch either wasn't around or had not exploded into the juggernaut that we know today, third best selling system of all time, over 130 million units worldwide and counting. This just was not an option when they were analyzing this before 2019. The key with his statement was that they were in constant contact with Monolith Soft. I don't think this discussion between them ended right there for obvious reasons, which we will get into, and I kind of foreshadowed a little bit. But you also have to factor in, while Monolith Soft was known in the RPG circles, the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise had not quite exploded into the multi-million selling series we know now. Xenoblade 1 did well, but was handicapped by the late Wii release at Nintendo of Americas, only at GameStop. There was just so many issues. There was no digital distribution at the time of the Wii, so obviously sales weren't incredible, but they were really good. Now, Xenoblade X had some success, but with the small, tiny install base of the Wii U and the long delays, put a major damper on the game's possible success with Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that's pretty much the first glimmer of showing some extended signs of life and selling well. But that was only 2 years released, with many gamers just starting to buy the game. So while Bandai Namco was doing this market analysis to see if things would work, there just wasn't enough with either Monolith Soft, with the Switch, with what they saw with PlayStation RPGs selling. There just wasn't enough there to really go forward with this. So I understand why Mr. Harada said what he said when it comes to the market analysis. Fast forward all the way to 2022, 2023 now at this point, right? Xenoblade Chronicles 2 picks up steam over the years, now selling over 2.7 million copies. That's more than pretty much the whole Xenosaga trilogy combined. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition releases in 2020 and sells over 1.8 million copies as a full-priced Remaster with extra content, in addition to Xenoblade Chronicles 3, along with Future Redeem, shoots out to the fastest selling Xenoblade Chronicles game of all time with an incredible DLC expansion, Future Redeem, that ties together not only the whole Xenoblade franchise with Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torna and everything, but Xenosaga directly, in addition to Xenogears on the side. But really, Xenosaga is what we're focusing on. Without spoiling things too much, this isn't a subtle reference or kind of like Easter egg type of thing. It's a full-blown backstory, lore, direct tie-in that makes it pretty much irrefutable when it comes to Xenosaga and Xenoblade and what could potentially be happening. Now, the franchises are officially connected. Bandai Namco was even credited in the Future Redeem DLC, which I won't be showing you any of that. You guys need to experience it yourself if you haven't. Where does this leave us now at this point? So we've got Baten Kaitos, right? That's another Monolith Soft developed, Bandai Namco published RPG, which is getting a big double pack remaster on September 15th. Now, a franchise, to my knowledge, that didn't really sell that great, but with a surge of Monolith Soft-driven popularity due to Xenoblade and the sales, the massive Nintendo Switch install base, and fans clamoring for Monolith Soft's backlog of games to come back, Bandai Namco actually deemed Baten Kaitos profitable from a market analysis perspective. So you see how things shifted? They would have never done this before, right? Which means they were probably heavily leaning on the data from RPG games that already released, like Xenoblade, to determine if it was worth it. And they did. They went back and looked, and it absolutely was. Bandai Namco probably would have never deemed Baten Kaitos viable if it wasn't for Xenoblade doing so well on the Nintendo Switch. There's no way, considering Baten Kaitos, I think, did worse than Xenosaga, some of the Xenosaga games when it comes to sales. It was right around the same, or it was worse. Now, here's the thing with Bandai Namco in this. I now believe they have deemed Xenosaga viable in 2022/2023 and are currently working, prepping, getting something ready for Xenosaga Trilogy HD Remaster, in addition to working with Monolith Soft on the next Xenosaga game or Xenosaga tie-in with Xenoblade to create something even bigger and better. Otherwise, they would have never given Monolith Soft the go-ahead with what went down in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed, which I'm positive they would have had to have gotten Bandai Namco's blessing or Bandai Namco's permission to do what they did. Now, we aren't in the clear yet, guys. Remember, we're not yet there. Nintendo has a new system coming, and I'm sure they want to see how Baten Kaitos does. The Nintendo Switch system has been such a boost to Bandai Namco revenue with all of the games they have released. I'm positive that they are confident in a Xenosaga Trilogy Remaster, and potential continuation of the franchise will now be profitable. Thanks to the hard work Nintendo, Monolith Soft, and the fans. This is what actually made this possible or viable in the first place. Now, when could we actually see an announcement and release of a Xenosaga Trilogy Remaster and all that? Well, I'm guessing as early as the next Nintendo Direct, which usually comes around mid to late September, and we could see a early 2024 release or a possible early announcement next year and a release shortly after later in the year, kind of like how Baten Kaitos was announced and then it's coming out in September. So my thoughts on all of this overall, because obviously huge Monolith Soft fans, a lot of you guys have played Xenoblade 1, 2, 3, or played some of the games, and I think that this is probably the next important step for Monolith Soft, for Bandai Namco, and for companies to see that there are a large group of people that want these classic games, that want these PS2, that want these Super Nintendo. Bringing these type of games back can be profitable. I think that it's incredibly important, like super important, not 100% ride or die or have to, but it's very important that Baten Kaitos, that HD remaster, like that does well. You get 2 games. I think it's $50. There is a physical edition on PlayAsia that's in English, so you guys can check that out. I'll try to see if I can have a link for you guys in the description. But if not, just Google search it. It's there. I already purchased my copy. It's not too bad. Or you can just go digital if you want to go the digital route. And I think that with that game doing well, not only will it, of course, fast track what we could see with Xenosaga, or at least it just kind of confirms my theory on what's happening, but I think that they can look back into other RPGs. They can look back into other things that they've done in the past, and other companies can look and say, okay, that was successful. That did well. That sold over 1 million copies. We invest this many millions, or we invest this to remaster it. It can come out and do really well. We've seen a number of old school RPGs being re-released and having great success on the Nintendo Switch platform. So you don't have to sit there and invest everything into every single system and worry about super 4K resolutions and all that. You can do it on the Nintendo Switch. You do it backwards compatibility with PS4, and people play it on their PS5. There's so many different ways that you can get this done. Heck, you can do it on Xbox if you want, do it on all, but you don't have to invest these crazy amounts in order to get your return and then some. Do a great job on the game, and obviously we all want to see great remasters, we want to see great games being brought back. But at the same time, it doesn't need to be some type of crazy thing where you're out there spending large amounts of money. And I think that's what some of these companies are worried about in terms of the quality of the remaster, or what they're going to have to put in, or nobody's going to buy the game. I think that remastering it isn't necessarily a problem. The money might not be a problem, but it's, are people going to actually invest? Because we could have used that manpower, that time, that money to do something else and make way more money, because we never get that time back. And every single year, investors need to know. Every single quarter, they need to see what's going on. They need to see more profits and revenue. So you have to be very selective and careful about what games you're bringing to the market, when, why, how, and what's going on with the game. So I think that if Baten Kaitos does incredibly well, we could see a real renaissance of Monolith Soft's older games, because it's not just Xenosaga and Baten Kaitos. They have other games that a lot of people have never played before, or have never been truly localized, like Somabringer. That is a Nintendo title. That's on the Nintendo DS, and that was never officially localized. If these games start to do well, if Baten Kaitos does well, if that game can pull in some decent numbers, I think really the floodgates can open for not only Monolith Soft, but Level 5 and some of these other companies, some of these other classic companies that started up in that, 5th, 6th gen or so, and a lot of their games are just stuck behind there. Now, another game that I want to talk about just briefly here, and that is Xenogears. I think that this also can lead into something awesome for that game. Now, you have to deal with the license with Square Enix for that, so it's not Bandai Namco. So it'd be Square Enix, Nintendo, and Monolith Soft all collaborating on that, because that game's kind of busted with some of the further you go into that game with the second disc and stuff like that, but that's okay. There is one game that I think that's going to be a great or big help to potentially getting something, and that is the Star Ocean 2 remake. That game, that's going to be very vital. I think that Square Enix sees if that game does well with that style, you can bring Xenogears over in that style. You can invest in it and it can do really well. Once again, the Nintendo Switch platform is right there. It's been great for these type of games. HD 2D games have done incredible on there. Remasters have done incredible on the Nintendo Switch. So this is the time that we could start seeing a lot of these companies do this. And I'm really hoping that is the case here. So we'll see how it all works out. But what are your thoughts on this, guys, when it comes to Xenosaga potentially coming back, when it comes to Baten Kaitos, when it comes to potential Xenogears, and what Square Enix could do there after Star Ocean comes out with what they've got? Let me know in the comment section. Also, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other videos right here on screen, like my top 25 Nintendo Switch games of all time and other RPG videos. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you for the next one. Peace.